Are you ready for this one, Derek? We have a wild record to get into this week. Coming out of Nashville, this is a psychotic mosh metal, hardcore technical math metal band called Chamber. Their album, This Is Goodbye, releases in a few short days on March 27th of 2026. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, this is an absolute banger. Chaotic, and when you think of Nashville, Tennessee, you don't think of mathcore, noisecore, but you can now because these guys are ascending. They are going to be taking the world by storm and grabbing the title that Dillinger Escape Plan had left behind when they kind of sunsetted a little bit.
Yeah. Did you know Chamber before this album?
I did not, and it stood out to me when we were fishing around for something to listen to that was new and cool. Love it. Think it is absolutely just chaos. And as a person that, kind of lived in Boston for a long time, Converge was just always out and about. And so I'd go see Converge a lot just because of the shows, and it was just, just wild. And I suspect that Chamber and This Is Goodbye is going to catapult them, and they are going out on tour, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But they're wild, just like Converge used to be, and Converge still is. And I suspect that this is just a launching pad for them.
I did not know Chamber either until this record. Kind of, as we do when we're going to talk about an album, I just immerse myself in it in the week or two prior to our conversation. And I have done that with this album, just nonstop, again and again and again. I did take a break and go back to their album, and they've released 3 other full-length albums. 2023, they released A Love to Kill For. 2020 had Cost of Sacrifice, and then they've released 3 EPs along the way also. I did listen to A Love to Kill For, their last record, and it is certainly similar to this in flavor, but this record is wild, man. It is incredible. Mathcore, noise rock. There's so many descriptives that we could use. They themselves refer to it as psychotic mosh metal, but I've also seen in a few other places them described as metalcore, and that is not, I don't think that's totally accurate. There are some of the hallmarks of metalcore in this album, but I would not on any level call this a metalcore record. It is so involved and so, man, it's out there, but it's grounded in rhythm. And I immediately thought of a couple of different bands, Car Bomb, Greg Kubaki's projects, Car Bomb, Sun Guts, as you said, Dillinger Escape Plan, very technical on a lot of fronts. They're utilizing, not instruments, but they're utilizing equipment that allows them to achieve sounds that are not necessarily all that traditional in the metal realm, but are becoming more so, and they are using them in a wild, wild fashion. I love this record. I think it's great. As you said, they're on tour right now or will be very, very soon, and they are a crazy band. This is a crazy album, and I am a huge fan.
Mathematical violence is the words that came to mind for me. And also what's cool about this is they actually went into the studio and it was written in the studio. My understanding is they in the past had always had a really calculated way of recording, and a lot more of a improvisation happened within the studio on this record, and it shows. It feels like just a live record that, and I hate to use the comparison with jam bands, but it feels kind of like a very fluid recording process that resulted in some of that chaos that we like so much and that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, the band, Jacob Lilly on vocals, Gabe Manuel on guitar, also does some singing, Henry Dierig on guitar, Chris Smith on bass, and Taylor Carpenter on drums. They are very talented guys, clearly, and they bring a lot of different flavors. Some sections are just downright crushing riffs, super technical, super hard, very aggressive. Again, you add in some of that technical proficiency with the gear and equipment they're using, and it is a recipe for a super, super intense and really powerful album.
You're the musician here. Are those pinch harmonics that are in there?
I think that there's probably certainly a bunch of pinch harmonics and pick scrapes and things like that are a little more mainline progressive metal and
Mhm.
standard metal heavy stuff. But again, they're using like a Digitech whammy pedal and what was the other one that I found? Pitchfork pedals. So they're using this technology very similarly to what Greg Kubacki does with Car Bomb to
Yeah.
achieve these wild, I don't want to say lasers, but when you hear this record, you will know it when you hear it, that these are some tones and tricks that you don't get on too many other records, and which is one of the reasons I think I like it so much.
Well, I think this is a beginning, even though you could say "This Is Goodbye" is a breakup record. It's a,
Yeah,
they're going to say sayonara off themselves. It's not.
it
This is a
isn't.
big, giant bird finger to all the things that hold them back. And look, life is weird. We talked about it on the podcast. You can't turn on the news without getting irritated and frustrated. Everybody is at each other's throats. Prior to this call, it's talking about St. Patrick's Day and going out, and you should be able to go out on St. Patrick's Day and have a beer and not worry too much, especially me being Irish. But the world is pissed off and we are divided. And this record really, really resonates in that it's pissed, it's mad, and you should be mad and you should be pissed off at the things that are holding you back in life. There's a lot of them, and I love that these guys really, really took the moment and grasped it. They're owning it and taking the ability, like the not being so rigid and going to the studio and letting the music kind of flow
Mhm.
really worked. And I think that these guys are going to grab a torch for noisecore, whatever you want to call it, and really run with it.
Did you do your standard sort of lyrical deep dive in terms of, listening to the lyrical content?
I didn't go too deep into it, but they are very irritated with just certain things in life. I was more interested in the production qualities. Randy LaBeouf,
Hmm.
not Shia LaBeouf, it did the production on this. So Randy is responsible for literally making these guys bleed in his studio.
No doubt. If you're a fan of Knocked Loose, who has, been at the
Mhm.
forefront of a hardcore genre for a long time, the Acacia Strain and Vincent Bennett from Acacia guests on one of the tracks here, or Code Orange, who is another sort of glitch metal band that's really making some noise these days. You're probably really going to love this record. I don't, as you know, I'm not a big lyrical content guy. I listen to vocals more from a rhythmic perspective and sort of as a textural and instrumental layer in an album. So I,
Mhm.
I didn't go, I just don't look at lyrical content much. So I'm
Lyrical
always curious to
content,
get your take.
yeah, it's about the weight of dread, just
Hmm.
certain parts of life that's dread and self-doubt. A lot of self-doubt. And we all can relate to that, especially when you're just inundated every day with whatever, social media, going to work, right? There are
Yeah.
differences of opinions there. There are differences of opinions on TV. You can go to the grocery store and there's differences of opinions. And frankly, dread is a really good one. There's a lot of things in life as an adult that can be dreadful. And so, like, even just the other day, just to give you an idea, I had to get lunch very quickly, went to Wendy's and got there. And then the car in front of me broke down. And they got out and pushed this car out of the way so I could go get but literally 15 minutes later, right? And you go, "What?" And are we at a point in this world where we don't have a plan here? And it's just like you don't expect that kind of dread to sit there for 15 minutes at a drive-through. You're going for fast food to get fast food because I had places to be and things to do and everything else. It was a weekend,
So the
right?
fact
And
the
so
fact that your fast food turned into slow food and that was enough to just crush your day.
Hey, where's the beef? I don't think there's anybody back there.
all I wanted was Junior Bacon Cheeseburger. Hey, Wendy's, if you want to be a sponsor, we'd love to have you, even though you're closing stores. So maybe not.
Wow. Oh, well, it's a visceral record. Maybe you should have switched up while you were there in line, waiting for that double bacon cheese.
Yeah, Junior Bacon Cheeseburger. I don't go very often because I'm over 50 and it will kill me. Like,
You're
I'll have
watching that boyish figure.
yeah. Well, I'm also watching my boyish heart.
Fair enough. I think metal in general is one of those genres that for those of us who are heathens and still smoke cigarettes and things like that, or have the occasional cocktail or whatever, you can take your favorite metal record and it can do for you what you need done in that moment. the same way some people look at a cigarette or a beer or a cocktail or what have you, where if you need to relax a little bit, you can put your favorite metal record on, or you can have a drink or whatever. If you want to get spun up, you can put your favorite metal record on. And I think this is one of those albums that's so intense and so powerful. It can do any of that and all of it. And the hope is that you use that great power with some real responsibility.
Wisely.
Yeah.
I did. I did want to drive my Honda into this piece of crap in front of me at the drive-thru, and didn't. But
Smart move.
Chamber, you had me this close. If I wasn't listening to that, I was listening to, whatever, mellow music like Grateful Dead or something. Not that I like the Grateful Dead, but if that was on, no way. I wouldn't even cross my mind. I would have been like, yeah, this is irritating. And I really want my fast food because I got things to do. But Chamber, really. And it's funny. That moment is kind of like a country song. So it's fitting that we're talking about a band from Nashville. But my car didn't break down. And all they did was antagonize me to want to run them over.
Yeah. Well, they are known, as I understand it, due to my my Google fooing, that they are known for some pretty violent live shows. Now, I think that's perhaps maybe a misused term, but these amped up, heavy duty hardcore shows, people do get spun up. And this is an album where I can definitely see somebody getting spun up if they wanted to get fired up. It's a crazy record, and it sucks. I wish that the social media platforms would allow us to put samples of these albums into our conversations, but they don't like it. They don't like us using copyrighted material, which I respect. I don't want to take money out of anybody's pocket for sure, but it's one of those records that until you hear it, listening to you and I talk about it may not make a whole lot of sense. But as soon as you start the record, the first track, Arms of Eternity, in the first 5 seconds of that song, what's coming for you. And you better be strapped in, have your boots pulled up real high, and you better be ready to go because it is a wild ride. All the songs are pretty short. I think the longest song on the record is like 3, maybe 3.5 minutes. So it's these really super intense bursts of really crazy, chaotic, hectic musicality that is, on the surface, might be a bit much to take, but it is all anchored together really, really well. It's not chaos for the sake of chaos. It's very highly, again, I hate to keep referencing Car Bomb, but they've been on my radar for a couple of years now. It is like really highly refined chaos, if that makes sense.
No, violins, high octane discordance, and I can't imagine seeing that live. It has to be an absolute wreckage of a experience watching that. Another standout track for me was Without a Trace. It's just technical chaos. I would love to see them perform this and then watch the pit turn into demonology. Like everybody's like reading, carving pentagrams into their arms and then beating the snot out of each other. Like that has to happen Without a Trace. No doubt in my mind.
Another thing about the record that I think is so great is the mix, on the production side. The mix is super, super solid. And one of the important things with a mix is when you have so much audio data to contend with, and this is stuff that studio rats and engineers, they all know it. And these guys did a great job. LaBeouf certainly had a big hand in this. And the low end on the record is super, super tight, which it has to be with so much madness transpiring. If the low end was left not, brought in and really focused, this album could have been a muddy mess to listen to. But because the mix is so good, everything is really well defined. And props to, I don't know if LaBeouf mixed it as well as produced it, but he kept everything so tight that nothing got lost on that record. And the musical gymnastics are still very, very transparent and audible, which I think is a technical achievement and really cool to listen to.
They captured sheer intensity. And have you ever gone to see a band, like you listen to their material and you're like, it's good. And then you see them live, you're like, holy crap. Then you go back to their recorded material and you really like it because you saw them live, but they didn't really capture the live experience. I suspect that
Yeah.
this is very close to
Mhm.
the live experience. Like if you can create capture sheer intensity in audio form and put it out there and then irritate an old man wanting to run people over at Wendy's, you've done your job.
Yeah.
Good job.
I won't argue that point. Yeah. So standouts on this, we could track by track it, but it's like I said, man, they're these like a shotgun blast of madness within a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. I do have standout tracks. Violins is 100% one of my standouts on this record. So many cool tonal choices in there that I think as a whole just make it such a powerful piece of music. You know, there's some great metric modulation with the tempo and messing with the feel of the count at the end of the song. It's brutal. Another one of my standouts, Without a Trace. It's an absolute bruiser of a track. Like every time I'd play the album through, I'd get to that one and I'd go back and start it again and again and again. It somehow felt more chaotic, if possible. That song felt more chaotic than the other tracks, but it has these little like breakdown sections throughout that all suck it back together and give it this great anchor feeling, and make it that much more approachable too, which I think is really cool for an album that is so largely based in chaos. But the rhythms are chaotic. The chord choices and bizarre intervals that they used are crazy. The vocals are completely unhinged. So yeah, those would be a couple of the standouts for me. I know you liked Violins. Any other tracks that really spoke to you?
Yeah, those those are the two that really stood out for me, and I went back to them and found myself going back to those two tracks. No, I was going to say upcoming U.S. tour supporting Malevolence and Guilt Trip, who I really like. I love Guilt Trip, but that's a heck of a lineup. We reviewed Malevolence last year. Great record, great band. Guilt Trip is another up and comer. I think we've put on some of our Gain posts, on social media. Guilt Trip has been on there, and they got some real good bangers. So that's a great lineup. Starting March 31st in Chicago, going all the way through the North America, ending April 14th in Atlanta, Georgia at the Masquerade, which is a great venue if you haven't been. So certainly go there. But yeah, they're hitting all the entire East Coast: Richmond, Virginia, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, Boston, Montreal, Toronto, Detroit, and they're starting in Chicago, like I said, on the 31st.
Yeah, Malevolence is such a great band. They were at the top of my list for albums of the year. So what a powerhouse bill that is. The Detroit show is at a place called The Shelter, which is in St. Andrews Hall, which used to be a church. That was, I'm a Michigan boy, and that was one of my venues. So I was so excited that they were going to be playing there. Regrettably, I will not be traveling back to Michigan to go see it. But if you're in Detroit and you like the Crazy, man, what a great place to see this band and Malevolence for sure.
And you and I went to the Paradise in Boston and saw Max. And I will actually be there on March 21st for a band that's not metal. Yeah, it's a birthday party thing that I got to go to. So luckily, the brewery that Lord Hobo has Boom Sauce there. And the last time I was thoroughly drunk was drinking Boom Sauce from Lord Hobo with you.
Yeah.
And watching Max. And I have not drank like that since, nor will I probably ever again, because I was hurting the next day.
Yeah, you were.
But the Paradise,
great venue
I will
too.
be there March 21st, and we'll be choking my way through a band that's there, having some Boom Sauce.
Yeah, when at the Paradise, we saw Max and Cavalier Conspiracy and our friends in Death Ray Vision, Keith Bennett.
Yeah.
So shout out Keith. We chatted with him or been messaging back and forth, and you're absolutely right, Keith. We both need to get back up, but maybe you'll bump into him there while you're watching Barbara Streisand or whoever it is you'll be seeing.
I actually was going to hit up Keith and see if he wanted to meet me there and have a Boom Sauce. I don't think he drinks, but it certainly would be fun to catch up with him, and it would give me a reason to. And maybe I'll come back down April 7th for to see this lineup, because it's a great one.
Great. God, that's going to be an amazing tour, and I hope I can get in front of one of those shows. Well, great record. Great band. I'm excited to have been introduced to them, and they'll be on my list of bands to watch. And if you're into anything even remotely chaotic, they should be on your list of bands to watch too.
Absolutely. A quick shout out. I'm going to give a shout out to myself. I've been giving our website a facelift and
Yeah.
working with our CMS platform, and I think the website looks pretty good. So check it out if you haven't already. Be sure to go and like and subscribe and follow us on whatever podcast channel that you tend to travel on, and I think Gain's fun. So
Yeah.
hopefully you guys are enjoying it as well.
Yeah, and you can leave a voicemail on there for us, too. And tell us how idiotic
tell
you
us-
believe we to be.
And I don't really care if you do.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? You don't want to, because what I might do is get in my Honda or drive over you with listening to Chambers' This Is Goodbye. So don't mess with me.
Next time you're in a fast food drive-thru, just keep your eye in the rearview mirror for a Honda. If you see one, just keep it moving. Keep it moving.
That's right. And Honda, you want to sponsor us? You know where to call.
All right, excellent stuff, man. We'll see you next time.